we go. I see nothing. Okay. CloudFormations, I'm going to kind of run you through a problem that I had, and then why I kind of chose CloudFormations, and specifically AWS SAM, the serverless architecture model, in order to fix it. So in the Marine Corps, first, there's the empty email box. You'll see why that's important coming up. We have these things called MAR admins. They're Marine Administrative Messages. A lot of important stuff comes through here. One particular message that I was anxiously waiting for was information about the promotion selection board. And so for 2 days straight, I found myself hitting refresh, 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 probably about 10,000 times, waiting to find out if I was going to be looked at for promotion. And I said, there's got to be a better way. I wanted something that wasn't going to cost me a lot of money to start it up, where it's just me getting these, but then I also wanted something that could scale. So I think a lot of the Marines would probably be interested in something like this. And so if I end up with hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of subscribers, I wanted something that could do that. And the AWS SAM appeared to be what I needed. So everything was done completely serverless. So this first web page that you see here, and this link is active if you want to check it out. This is actually goes to a AWS Lambda function. This is written in Python. I'm using yat tag in order to present the HTML. It's using Bootstrap, and I'm using an AWS S3 bucket for the static files, which the only static file for this one is actually just the background image. So if you put your email address in there and then submit it, all that it pretty much does is takes that and then sends that through a get method to another Lambda function that processes that and sends the verification email using AWS SES or simple email service. So if we look back over here at my email, I've got the email verification link. Thank you for subscribing. Click here to verify it. And then this brings up a third Lambda function, which simply takes that token and that email and then compares it against the database. The database that I'm using is a Dynamo database. It's a NoSQL, very similar to Mongo, AWS's version of that. So now that I am completely verified in there, all right, now what I want to do is generate a message. So I've already kind of set this one up ahead of time. I'm going to jump down here to some code. We'll come back and explain what this does here in a minute. I got to get rid of that bar. Okay. So this will run. It finds that new message in there. And then I'm getting both a text message here that you see this, the title of the message, and then a link that I could go view it, as well as back in my inbox, I now have a copy of the email. And I have that set up on a 5-minute queue. So it actually triggers that Lambda function that scrapes the RSS feed every 5 minutes. I just ran it from IntelliJ, so we didn't sit here waiting 5 minutes for the next one. So here's the message that we were looking for. So now I have to sit there and constantly refresh for each new message. All right, so how did we get there? So the first thing that I want to show you is I'm using AWS Toolkit for IntelliJ. I did this all in IntelliJ and then published from there. So if you come to this site, you've got a link for install the toolkit. It gives you some pretty detailed instructions on how to do it. The important thing, I'm going to scroll down here too. You go through the process, you get your AWS command line interface installed, then you get Docker installed. Docker, what that does for you is you're actually running the same environment that's on AWS that your Lambda function runs in. You can now run that on your local machine so that you can debug locally, you can run locally like you just saw that I did to actually trigger it. And then you need the SAM command line as well. So once you've got all that set up, now to do, let's say we wanted to start a new project, all we do is file new project. And instead of going to Python, we come to, we'll see AWS here, serverless application. We hit next, call this Python talk, change our runtime to Python 3.8, and then hit finish. New window. And this is going to generate pretty much everything that we need to create our entire serverless application. So it gives you a README, gives you the hello world, and you notice the two files that we need to look at here is this app py and then our template file. So in the template file, this is what actually builds all the services that you need on AWS. It's got the function, your service function. This is in the Lambda, and you give it all the details you need, and I'll go into more detail when I go back to mine, right? And then your actual app is a pretty simple hello world. So it starts you off ready to go, and then once you actually fill this out with everything you need, and you're actually set up, and it's not called hello world anymore, all you got to do is right click on this template, come down to deploy serverless application, and it pushes everything to AWS, makes everything for you, and you don't have to work through the GUI. So if we take a look back over at the app that I've got, so we start out, so I've got some global functions in here, I've got some different environmental variables, the resources, so I mentioned I'm using a Dynamo table to keep first the MAR admins themselves. So I use a description. The description is the unique key that's different because I'll have a MAR admin number, which cannot be reused. And then I use that for the hash. That's pretty much all that goes in there. I keep a subscriber table, the email, whether or not it's verified. You could put all your provisioning throughputs, global secondary indexes, everything that you need. So I've got the scraper function, and then I'm using a lot of different capabilities within AWS. So if we kind of go back to, let's go to our register function here. So this is the very first web page that you saw that showed up with the YAT tag, and this is that web page that displayed, and you'll see here somewhere it's in there, the form action just takes you to where is it? I don't know. It's in there somewhere. There you go. Action, it just takes you to registered. Method get passes that information along. This is where we get that email. We sanitize it, of course, because we never trust user input. And then we display that bootstrapped web page that confirms that they're registered and that they've got the email on the way. Here's where you see the DynamoDB. We're storing all that information into the subscriber table. Anything that's pretty cool, anything that you just print in the console, it doesn't just show up down here when we're running it locally, but it stores that all into the CloudWatch files. So you do have to be careful with what you log there, like our first speaker hinted to earlier. And then we use the SES, the simple email service from AWS to send out that verification email. And then here we've got another web page that tells us that, okay, you're registered, look for the verification. Here's our third function that actually does the verify. Again, takes the email and the email token, sanitizes them, make sure they're legit. And then we go into that subscriber table, update it to say that they're verified, show them the web page saying that congratulations, you're verified. We've got an unsubscribe function that was included in the bottom of the emails. So if we come back up here, at the very bottom, you've got to click to unsubscribe, and that will launch you to here. And this is our scraper. So what this does, you can go into the CloudWatch, and you can essentially tell it that you want your Lambda function to trigger every X number of minutes. The default's 5. I left mine on 5. That works pretty well. And then basically all we do is go in here, we go to the RSS feed for the website. We pull down the messages, and then we compare the messages to what's in our MAR-admin table on the Dynamo database, figure out if that message already exists. If it does not, then we go ahead and go to the link, because each message is actually just like the subject or the title, and then you have to go to the link that's in that message to get the full body of the message. So we grab all the body info out of that web page, parse it out, and then we publish it to SNS. So SNS is the simple notification service. And what we wanted to do was decouple this from just sending the emails, right? We could have the scraper just kind of then automatically go in the subscriber table, grab each email address and send it out. But if we end up with hundreds or thousands of subscribers, next thing you know, this function is taking longer than the 5 minutes, and the next one is running before this one is done, and who knows what we end up with. So all this does is publish to that topic, and then that topic has a subscriber. And then that subscriber, for our case, happens to be SQS, or the simple queue service. And so the simple queue service is triggered by a new topic being published to the notification service, and that triggers this function. And so this is the function that then takes that one message that we found was new on the Marine's website, and here we go into our database of subscribers, and for every verified email address in our subscriber table, we create a message in the queue, right? So we've got, you know, tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of emails. We're not even trying to email them here yet. All we're doing is creating those emails to do in the queue. So now our SQS, you know, grows 10,000, 100,000, and it triggers another Lambda function that we call SQS to SES, which is the simple email service. So if you've only got a handful, then it triggers just one Lambda function, you know, one at a time until it gets it done. If you've got a lot, then it will scale automatically. You don't have to program all this stuff. It just does it for you. And the next thing you know, you've got 60 Lambda functions running concurrently, churning these things out, getting your hundreds of thousands of emails out very, very quickly. And that's pretty much that. Yep. There's email templates that you can do with the SES. You set up your name, your subject, HTML parts. You can add stuff at the bottom. So at the end of every message is where I put my comments, questions, concerns, the email link, everything that you saw down here comes from that template. Yep. So very scalable. If this thing isn't doing anything, or if it's looking every 5 minutes and there's no message, no new message, no new message, it's not costing me a whole lot. Actually, practically nothing. I'm pretty sure I'll be within the free tier for a very long time. And then if I do end up with, you know, 10,000 subscribers, it's still not doing a whole lot until it finds that new message, and then it will scale to what it needs to do to get everything out. And it's 100% serverless. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that is everything. I think I covered everything. Cool. Let me see my notes. Yep.
That was very cool. Are there any questions?
Have you looked up a serverless framework? A third-party serverless framework?
A third-party serverless framework?
So there's a company called or a nonprofit. It's called Serverless Framework, but it's compatible with AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure, and probably other cloud providers as well. But it's like a framework around CloudFormation, so you can write Lambda functions and SQS queues, but write less code. And so you still have a YAML file where you define all the CloudFormation templates, but you don't have there's a bunch of plugins, and it's a little bit easier to use.
Plus, you can use it. You can go to a competitor if they raise their prices.
Yeah, that too. So you can go on AWS and be like, oh, I want Google Cloud, or you can do both at the same time with using the command line.
Okay. Yeah, this was my, technically, I guess this was my second live application on the web. I did a serverless survey before this one, but yeah, no, this is all new. Just learning it, but yeah, seems pretty cool.
It was pretty impressive. This was really cool.
Thanks.
Well, thanks a lot. That was great. I learned a lot about serverless, which is I've used it and I still barely understand it.